everybody, and welcome to Responsible AI in Action with the Responsible AI Institute, where we are speaking with some of the leading experts regarding responsible AI. I'm very excited to have Cristina Lopez joining us today. Cristina, thanks so much for joining us on the show.
Thanks for having me, Patrick.
I'm very excited to have you here. You recently participated in one of our panels on managing generative AI. And of course, you are a senior analyst at Graphika, and it's been really amazing to see the various work and research that has been done there. So I'm wondering if we could start there, Christina. What do you do as a senior analyst at Graphika? And how does that relate to everything that's happening in the AI space?
So at Graphika, we are a social media intel research company, and we apply network science to different communities across social media and the internet. And our approach includes looking at different actors, behaviors, and content, and seeing what, if any, harms there could be for societal harms. And so with AI, there has been an influx not only of actors that are now engaging with this technology across different social media platforms. There's also a lot of behaviors that are interesting in terms of what tactics, procedures, and just different techniques these actors are using, whether it is to deceive or to influence. And we are, of course, just getting a hang of how much content is possible to generate with this sort of technology. So, across a lot of our landscapes that we look at, AI has become one point where we are learning and just trying to adapt with the internet.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that research component is such a critical element of AI and just how AI is developing and just kind of keeping up with everything that's going on. Of course, a lot of research has started to be done with regards to AI and elections. NBC News recently launched a news story about how experts warn that deepfakes and AI could threaten election integrity. And in this story, there was a former senior Department of Homeland Security official, Miles Taylor, who said it was actually jarring when experts came together to discuss how these threats could really spiral out of control and how AI could really dominate this upcoming election cycle. And of course, we're seeing these sorts of issues arise. There was a Russian disinformation campaign that used fake audio to dissuade people from going to the polls. And a major concern also is how to detect something in time because this technology is just moving so fast, and our system hasn't really been built to police deep fakes or massive disinformation. So I'm wondering from your perspective, I know that Graphika has published a lot of research related to this. How can we mitigate the risks of AI as it relates to disinformation with elections?
I think that in general, when it comes to elections, I think it's great to think about AI as just one of the components of the many things that affect the landscape of an election. The main issue here is an issue of trust. And one of the things that has been majorly impacted, like at a societal level, by just the existence of AI and by just the rapid advances that we're seeing with this technology, and just by coming into contact, like in the wild as a internet user or as a researcher, coming in contact with the sort of content that is now possible to generate, and then to add to that the fact that you can do this at a scale that is really hard to wrap your head around when you're thinking about the tools that we have, like you mentioned, the tools that we have on the other side of things to conduct forensics and kind of at scale detect this when this technology has been used. I don't think that the issues that we have elections wise have too much to do with the technology as they have to do with the issue of trust. We are in an election cycle that comes out of a few other election cycles in which election interference has been done because the trust of the people, the distrust of the people that, elections are managed with integrity, that everyone is coming to the polls and will not feel threatened physically, that people won't be disenfranchised and will be able to exercise these rights, like that distrust has already permeated. We saw the consequences of distrust at scale when we saw the Capitol riots in 2021. And so you can already do all this without the for deep fakes. The deep fakes are just one more component, one more angle of attack that different actors now have at their disposal to continue to exploit what I believe is at the center of this, which is distrust, like the erosion of trust in the electorate of that, the elections will be conducted with integrity is what is really at stake here. And that has been affected throughout a few election cycles now. AI is just one more component, but we shouldn't think of it in isolation as the main issue because it really isn't.
Yeah, that's a really good point that we've had a lot of these types of issues previously already. And now AI is being thrown into this machine that kind of already exists. And it's interesting to see how it's going to develop, a little scary with regards to how it's going to develop. In a related note, Politico came out with an article just last week about deep fakes and specifically talking about distrust and disinformation and that impact on elections. There was a British researcher named Callum Hood who was able to use generative AI to create realistic images of voter ballots in the dumpster. And just the ability to be able to do this and kind of mess with people's trust is certainly an issue at hand. I know that in this article, Hood asks, what is the usefulness of a technology that can produce such realistic images, and how does it outweigh the potential harm? And of course, we've also seen the false robocalls from President Biden as well, and we're seeing this affect politicians all over the world, from places like Ireland and Moldova. And some political parties are, of course, using AI and what Politico in their article deems as like more mundane techniques. So, using machine learning tools to mine voters' personal data to better target them with online political advertising and things along those lines. I would love to hear your perspective, Christina, on if you see a way that political campaigns can use AI tools effectively in a way that isn't necessarily malicious. I'm still in the process of trying to figure that out myself. I would love to hear your thoughts on this.
I do think that that is somewhat a nuance that gets lost when we focus on what we disproportionately focus on the potential for harm. And we kind of miss the plot a little bit on just the technology, like neutrally is really a moral neutral, a technology that can both enhance your ability to connect with other people as much as it can damage your ability to connect with other people by inserting distrust in what you're doing. And I think that there are a lot of examples of non nefarious, almost boring uses of machine learning that are constantly deployed across different fields. And I don't see why political campaigning cannot be one of those fields. I think that one of the mistakes would be in deploying AI to substitute the human in human relationships. I think that would, of course, deem a lack of trust. It would result in people not feeling trusted, like that they can trust the political campaign. It would not lead the electorate or the audiences that this political campaign is trying to connect with to feel like they've connected in a real way with a politician, or that they've connected with this politician's platform. But I definitely can see a lot of ways in which AI is not trying to substitute the relationship between humans. It's not trying to, make those inroads instead of humans. I do think that still needs to happen. But where AI can potentially enhance the human's ability to connect with more people, where it can help tweak messaging in a way that You can deploy a machine learning system to figure out what are the messages that lead to more people clicking on their inbox, that lead to more people volunteering for the campaign and volunteering to, phone bank. It can deploy machine learning in ways that can identify what are those pressing concerns for voters so that you can better know what are the areas that a politician should address in with different populations in different places across the country. So I definitely think that there are a lot of non-nefarious, almost boring ways in which AI could help campaigns do what they are supposed to do more effectively, which is connect with the electorate, try to present issues, and kind of try to demystify what's beneath a candidate's platform a little better. That have nothing to do with supplanting or substituting the human with I think that that's where trust becomes an issue. And when we already have trust as an issue in the election, you don't want to murk the waters further with that.
Yeah, that's a really good point. In a lot of ways I could see that being eventually a good barometer that AI should be a tool that enhances that interaction rather than replace it, rather than replacing the human. I Because as you were saying before, that just goes down this path of potential or possibly definite distrust. So those are really good points. Christina, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to join us for Responsible AI in Action today. And I also just really appreciate the work that you're doing at Graphika. It's such important work. And as AI continues to develop and evolve, the need for this type of research is going to be even more essential. So I really appreciate you taking the time. Where can our listeners find out more information about you and all the work that you're doing?
All of our research can be found at graphica.com. And there is a lot about AI and its impacts, both on politics as it is on different societal harms, like directly affecting different populations with non consensual AI imagery. So I definitely recommend checking out those reports.
Awesome. Great. Well, I'll make sure to include the link in our show description. So all of our viewers out there, just scroll down. Highly recommend checking out Graphica's work at that link. Christina, thank you so much again for joining us.
Thanks, Patrick.